大家好，欢迎来到雅思阅读原文提前读系列。这里的文章和剑桥真题里的文章不同，在这个系列中，你会提前读到现在考试中还有很高几率遇到的文章，提前读过文章，对这些文章有一定的了解。当你在考试中遇到时，会极大的帮助到你的速度和做题准确度。那我们现在开始吧。The history of telegraph lines. The idea of electrical communication seems to have begun as long ago as 1746, when about 200 monks at a monastery in Paris arranged themselves in a line over a mile long, each holding ends of 25 feet iron wires. The abbot, also a scientist, discharged a primitive electrical battery into the wire, giving all the monks a simultaneous electrical shock. This all sounds very silly, but is in fact extremely important, because firstly, they all said "ow," which showed that you were sending a signal right along the line. And second, they all said "ow" at the same time, and that meant that you were sending the signal very quickly, explains Tom Stangage, author of the Victorian Internet and Technology editor at The Economist. Given a more humane detection system, this could be a way of signaling over long distance. With wars in Europe and colonies beyond, such a signaling system was urgently needed. All sorts of electrical possibilities were proposed, some of them quite ridiculous. Two Englishmen, William Cooke and Charles Weston, came up with a system which dials were made to point at different letters, but that involved 5 wires and would have been expensive to construct. Much simpler was that American, Samuel Morse, whose system only required a single wire to send a code of dots and dashes. At first, it was imagined that only a few highly skilled encoders would be able to use it, but it soon became clear that many people could become proficient in Morse code. A system of lines strung on telegraph poles began to spread in Europe and America. The next problem was to cross the sea. Britain, as an island with an empire, led the way. Any such cable had to be insulated, and the first breakthrough came with discovery that a rubber-like latex from a tropical tree on the Malay Peninsula could do the trick. It was called gutta percha. The first attempt at a cross-channel cable came in 1850. With thin wire and thick insulation, it floated and had to be weighted down with light pipes. It never worked well, as the effect of water on its electrical properties was not understood, and it is reputed that a French fisherman hooked out a section and took it home as a strange new form of seaweed. The cable was too long for a single boat, so two had to start in the middle of Atlantic, join their cables, and sail in opposite directions. Amazingly, they succeeded in 1858, and this enabled Queen Victoria to send a telegraph message to President Buchanan. However, the 98-word message took more than 19 hours to send, and a misguided attempt to increase the speed by increasing the voltage resulted in failure of the line a week later. By 1870, a submarine cable was heading towards Australia. It seemed likely that it would come ashore at the northern port of Darwin, from where it might connect around the coast to Queensland and New South Wales. It was an undertaking more ambitious than spanning an ocean. Flocks of sheep had to be driven with the 400 workers to provide food. They needed horses and bullock cart, and for the parched interior, camels. In the north, tropical rains left the team flooded. In the center, it seemed that they would die of thirst. One critical section in the red heart of Australia involved finding a route through the McDowell mountain range and then finding water on the other side. The water was not only essential for the construction team. There had to be telegraph repeater stations every few hundred miles to boost the signal, and the staff obviously had to have a supply of water. Just as one mapping team was about to give up and resort to drink brackish water, some Aboriginals took pity on them. Altogether, 40,000 telegraph poles were used in the Australian overland wire. Some were cut from trees. Where there were no trees, or where termites ate the wood, steel poles were imported. On Thursday, August 22nd, 1872, the overland line was completed and the first messages could be sent across the continent. And within a few months, Australia was at last in direct contact with England via the submarine cable too. The line remained in service to bring news from the Japanese attack on Darwin in 1942. It could cost several pounds to send a message, and it might take several hours for it to reach its destination on the other side of the globe. But the world would never be the same again. Governments could be in touch with their colonies. Traders could send cargoes based on demand and the latest prices. Newspapers could publish news that had just happened and was not many months old. 恭喜你体验完了一篇考试可能遇到的文章。如果你喜欢这个系列，请订阅并点击小铃铛，我会周期性的更新这个系列。圣诞节期间，我们的网课有超级的折扣，单科只需要18.99块全科才要49.98块，而且全部都是无限制的播放。OK， 没有30天，没有90天，无限制的播放。已经有好几百的同学学习过了，所以千载难逢的机会，如果你正在备考雅思，或者你正准备要备考雅思的话，不要再犹豫，点击下方链接，现在呢就学起来。